Well, a very warm welcome to this World Satsanga held on the 25th of March 2017, held in conjunction with Kevin Moore and the Moore Show. And I thank again Kevin for helping to spread the word and the information by allowing the World Satsanga audios to have some graphics associated with them as well and put on Kevin's YouTube channel. Before I get into the agenda, I'd like to make a quick amendment to one of the words that I used in the last World Satsanga meditation right at the very end. I talked about opening the third eye. Incidentally, I'm going to go over this meditation again in the next Satsanga, but I can't do it this Satsanga because we've got the Kundalini exercise. But in essence, I think I mentioned the pituitary gland as the gland being used for the third eye, the physical representation. That was actually an incorrect statement. It was a slip of the tongue. It should have been the pineal gland. So, although they're in very similar places underneath the base of the brain, I, for whatever reason, said pituitary rather than pineal gland or pineal gland. So please accept my apologies on that. And it was in error, the slip of the tongue rather than actually in error. Okay, so I thank those individuals who pointed that out to me. And again, I'm going to go over this meditation again next in the April Satsanga to help people. I'll do it a different way this time, so next time, so that people can really get it from a different angle. Because what I broadcast in February works for most people, but there are the odd individuals who learn in a different way. So we have to compensate for that. Okay, so what we have now is the agenda for this month's Satsanga. So I'm going to do a quick talk on why strange things happen that make us question our reality. And a number of different reasons for this, but I'll go through some in a moment. Then I've got some questions from different people based upon the books and general greater reality questions. And then I'm going to do an end of meditation to help you raise the Kundalini energy, which will be based upon two traditionally Hindu meditation-based techniques. One will be Kriya yoga, and one is based upon Kriya yoga, which is using the Hong-Sau breathing technique. And both of them generate the movement of energy up and down the spine, and the movement of energy up and down the spine is what creates the Kundalini energy. So let's start at the very beginning then. Why do we experience strange things that make us question if our reality is real? And this is all about, in real terms, our guide and helpers and even source helping us to get past this, if you like, firewall that we experience when we project the smaller part of ourselves, what we call the aspect or soul, a smaller part of the Trinity itself, into a vehicle to allow us to experience the lowest frequencies of the universe, which is obviously the universe being the lowest frequency associated with the multiverse. And so we are here experiencing something that we believe is absolutely the reality. We believe that the human body is what we are, because the ego, which is this temporary personality created through incarnation, is created through this almost total separation from the Trinity source, the true energetic self, as it were, as a result of low frequency existence and the bandwidth associated with it. And so we start to think that we are just the human body. And so everything around us that relates to the human body, which is our environment, our role, our status, our job, our friends, our family, our loved ones, pastimes, our creations, all revolve around the physical universe and this particular part of the physical universe, which is on the earth. And so from that perspective, we start to think that this particular reality is who and what we are. And so what I see around me and other people see around us is little breaking down of these walls. We see all sorts of different things happening around us. For instance, some people catch things in the corner of their eye, look again and they're gone. Other people find themselves in different realities sometimes. And there's a wonderful book called Twidders, which is able to describe some of these different things, where people find themselves in different time zones, where the, shall I say, the energies surrounding this particular aspect of event space, this reality, if you want to call it that, are being eroded, and so the event space is blending into each other naturally, because they do anyway. It's just that we are lower frequency, so we tend to stay in this particular event space. Twitters, by the way, is a book by a lady called Anita Holmes, and it's available through Amazon.com quite easily. So Twitters by Anita Holmes, and it's a wonderful book about individuals who've really found themselves in different event spaces that are not normally apparent to us from here. And so it's one of these strange things that happen when you find yourself in a different zone, a different time zone, or a different space, as it were, not specifically limited to time zones or event spaces that are aligned to Earth, but it could be another particular time zone or event space associated with another part of the physical universe. And so, in essence, what we have is a condition where we're starting to see things around us that are not of our normal reality, or the reality around us starts to break down. And things like seeing ghosts, we call them ghosts, but they could be astral entities, they could be other incarnate beings who are of a higher frequency that nevertheless are experiencing this particular environment, and maybe they are protecting themselves as well, are also here as well. So things that happen that's a strange out, things that shouldn't happen, and there's plenty of things that shouldn't happen that are happening sort of right now around us. For instance, in certain, so we say, electoral conditions, certain things like certain politicians are getting into sort of power, so to speak, and we have the same thing all over the world, where I think, well, how did that happen? How could something so strange as XYZ happen around us when it shouldn't do? You know, it's almost as if we've taken our eye off the ball, and because we've taken our eye off the ball, something strange happens. And all of these things are really to tell us that, you know, when things happen around us that we question, we go, how did that happen? What? That can't possibly be. That's not right. You know, when we start to question our reality, it's because we have, for want of a better word, started to become a higher frequency in our own right. And when we start to become a higher frequency in our own right, we start to see, experience, and in some instances be able to communicate with other aspects of the greater reality in this particular locale. And this particular locale would be the physical universe and the frequencies associated with it. And if we're lucky, other entities that are outside the physical universe. And so in essence, we are having our anchor point rocked. We believe we're in a physical universe is quantifiable, but actually we don't know anything about it, and there's big gaps in between galaxies. And why is there big gaps in between galaxies? In actual fact, why is there big gaps in between universes? It's because there's other content there. And so we get all these strange things happen around us that we start to question, that makes us start to question our reality. And this is the thing. This is the whole reason for it. It's starting to make us question our reality. It's starting to make us wake up in the middle of the dream. And this is the whole point. This is the whole point of us experiencing different things that are out of context in our particular incarnate condition, this particular reality that we're experiencing right now. And so what we have is lots and lots and lots of nudges, digs in the ribs, you know, taps on the head, taps on the shoulder, to make us understand and work with the fact that we are not just physical entities that are in a human body or any other body, and when that particular body demises, everything is lost. And so the whole point of this is to help us along our awakening path, our path to self-awareness, so that we can start to become what we were in the past, in countless millennia ago. We were able to understand who and what we are whilst incarnate. Now, clearly, the human form was a much lighter vehicle then. It was much higher frequency then, and so as a result of it being a much higher frequency, we were able to experience different things. We were able to still maintain levels of communication with our true higher self. We were able to manipulate our environment to a certain level, and we were able to communicate with other individuals by using some of the functionality that we gain by maintaining our high frequency existence while still being incarnate. So all this is to help us become aware and awake whilst incarnate now, to enable us to realise who and what we are, to enable us to recognise we're here to experience various different things, but in experiencing these various different things, we don't need to experience it in a tunnel vision point of view. We just need to be able to understand that this is a temporary condition to allow us to experience the lowest frequencies of not just the physical universe but the multiverse in the way that it's supposed to be experienced, but also in the most efficient way possible. So when we start to become aware and awake and recognise that through being exposed to these strange things that shouldn't really happen, these events that shouldn't really happen, these interactions with each other that shouldn't really happen, these changes to the environment that shouldn't really happen, it's making us become more aware and awake. And actually they're happening anyway because we are becoming more aware and awake, and our base frequency throughout the whole of the Earth area, the location of the Earth is becoming higher. And so as we all collectively become higher frequency, we start to see that there's a chink in the armour of this particular reality. We start to wake up inside the dream and question the imagery, and question the experience, and question the interaction, and question the environment that we are in. So all of these different things we experience, all these things that are strange, all these things that we should think, that should never have happened, are happening as part of a programmed series of events that are happening as a result of us all collectively becoming a higher frequency. And so the cohesion that we have through this, shall I say, mass illusion of this particular event space, what we call this current reality, is starting to break down, and we're starting to see beyond this reality. So it's all part of this thing. So one thing is it's being thrown at us as a reality check, so to speak. On the other side, it's a function of our becoming a higher frequency as well. So one's a given or a nudge or a tap on the shoulder by our guides and helpers, and the guides and helpers of all us together. And the second is associated with us rising through the frequencies, and the overall product is that we're starting to erode the natural barriers that we've created. We've all created this in between the different realities. Okay, so I hope that helps a little bit. Everything is designed to make us check, to make us question who and what we are, what we're doing, and how we're doing this. Okay, let's look at the questions in there. So in the first set of questions, it's questions based upon Beyond the Source Book 2. Source Entity 10 references the law of thought. The question is, what is this law? Does it only apply to energetic beings, or can it be understood and manipulated by humans? If yes, how can we learn to manipulate the so-called free energy? So the law of thought is effectively an understanding of anything we think about can be created. And so we have to be very careful about how we think. So with the thought is quite a downstream function of our intention and our desire, because the equation, if you want to call it, the process goes intention, desire, thought, action. So when we think of something, we've already gone 3/4 of the way down the road to creating what we were intending to create in the first place, and had the desire to create. So we have to be very careful about how we think, because anything we think about can and does end up being created. And so, in terms of the law of thought, every entity that is created by Source, and of course the Source as well, complies to the law of thought, law of intention, desire, thought and action, and so it can be understood and can be manipulated by humans. All we need to do is understand that we are master creators and we can do anything we want to, provided we are, for want of a better word, totally and utterly, in total and utter understanding that we can create and change our environment, change ourselves, change the structure of anything around us, and manipulate the local space and move where we are. So things like teleportation and manifestation, for instance. And so it's not because we are smaller aspects of our true energetic self, our bigger selves. We are energy beings. So even though we are incarnate as a smaller aspect in a physical form, a physical vehicle, we are still energy beings. We're still a smaller part of a larger energy being, and so we can still use this law of thought and create whatever we need to, whenever we need to. It's just that again, in the human body, because we got this almost total communicative blackout, as it were, or lack of bandwidth between us and our true energetic selves, we start to create this ego, which the ego is a temporary personality associated with the incarnation. And so that's the limitation. Limitation is the association of the soul, or smaller aspects of the true energetic self, with the human form, and the human form is limited, and so we naturally limit ourselves. And so, as energetic beings within a gross physical body, we can use the law of thought, backed up by our intention and our desire, to create the actions that we want. Okay, so we can learn to manipulate the so-called free energy as well. And actually, scientists are starting to realise that the influence of the observer on certain scientific tests is quite a big thing. For instance, with the firing of electrons through slits, or photons through slits, or they see that when they're observed, that they distribute themselves as individualised particles, so to speak. But when we move away, they start to distribute themselves like a wave. So it all depends upon the intention or the desired outcome of the human mind. Obviously, because the human mind is a function of our own sentience as an incarnate vehicle, but it's an incarnate entity within a physical vehicle. And so our desire starts, or our intention, which creates desire, shows what we expect a certain response, and that certain response is met because we created it. When we walk away, the real response comes into it, and so we're already manipulating everything. And so the use of free energy can be manipulated and used by incarnate mankind. Okay, the next question is: our collective frequency fluctuates up and down like a sawtooth pattern. That's correct. Where we are in 2007 in harmonic convergence, in 2012 in the Mayan calendar. When did we peak at 3.7? Are we still at 3.13? Well, in the last Satsanga, this question was asked, and it's sort of where are we in terms of the frequencies associated with the multiverse, in terms of the incarnate state of frequency of the human form. And we peaked at 3.7 about 7 or 8 years ago, actually, and now we've come back down. And the question is, why have we come back down? Really, this is my question to myself, and the answer is that we become complacent. We think we've made it. We start to become disfocused in terms of how we interact with ourselves and judge ourselves and work with ourselves and work with others, and so we start to slip back into the human profile. So although we peaked about 8 years ago at level 3.7, we have moved down because of our lack of observation of ourselves. We've got complacent basically, but we are moving back up again. I believe that round about now we're about 3.15 in terms of frequencies. But note that, as I said last time, although we're going up our averages that we move up the frequencies, we do go through this sawtooth profile of going locally up and locally down. And I've noticed that the sawtooth profile isn't a small sawtooth profile. We can go through the big teeth with the little teeth along the top, and then we get down the trough again, similar to the huge wood saws that we used to use in the wood pits, where there'd be one man at the top and one man at the bottom pulling the saw. We'd have a big teeth with little teeth on top of the big teeth, and we've been dropping down one of these big downward profiles of one of the big teeth, rather than going up the little teeth, so to speak. Although, having said that, we are still nominally going upwards. So it's we've moved up a little bit as a bit of a. We haven't reached the bottom yet, by the way. That's going to happen in between 3 to 5 years' time, I'm told. But even so, we're still going down. We do have this little upward bits on the way down. So it's this sawtooth profile of going from the one point of the curve on the upper point of the larger tooth of the saw, going down isn't a straight going down. It's a little bumpy ride going up and down as we go down as well. Second question is, in this world of turmoil and change, are we meant to take some form of collective action with like-minded people? The answer is yes. And if so, what? Group meditation, activism, any guidance on how we can deal with authoritarianism or fascism in this day and age? Really, it's all about teaching by example. We can broadcast our desires, we can demonstrate to others what the right way is, we can talk to others, we can hold workshops, we can do consultations, we can do all sorts of different things. But at the end of the day, the human condition is such that the human being learns by example, generally, rather than by us being taught specifically. So we learn more by following friends, by following trends, so to speak, by following trusted people, by following like-minded people and being together, rather than being told what to do. And so if we can work together with like-minded people and do meetings to discuss things metaphysical, things spiritual, whichever you want to call them, then we can show by an example, because we start to work together, we start to work together in harmony, we start to be calmer as a result. That's calm, as in more chilled out, so to speak. And we start to work together in a level of understanding and a reduced level of urgency as a result of this. And so we interact with each other on a much better level, and there's no competition involved. And so as a result of that, we start to broadcast this lack of competition, this lack of being involved, this detachment, whilst still being responsible for our everyday workload and our everyday commitments. This is something that's very important. Just because we're self-aware and we understand that we're smaller aspects of our true energetic self and we're smaller aspects of God, of Source, doesn't mean we're allowed to, or we should, relinquish our responsibilities that we've taken on as part of this particular incarnation. It's absolutely paramount that we continue to do our commitments as part of this incarnation. And so, again, doing our responsibilities, knowing that we're doing it for ourselves and God, and that what we're doing for ourselves and God is doing something which is going to allow us to evolve, is very important. So, getting together with groups of like-minded people, working together, meditating together, sharing ideas, thoughts, changing the behaviours and actions of who and what we are, so that we become better, calmer, nicer, more knowledgeable, more understanding, more appreciating, more giving, more of service individuals. It's all done by example. If we could create a fashion of being all those things I've just said, then we would rocket up the frequencies very, very quickly. Okay. Third question is, it's quite a long one, this is. There is a fine line between so-called spiritual bypassing, e.g. avoiding pain, temptations and conflict with others by detaching or disengaging from life, and indifference, as stated by a Holocaust survivor, Elie Wiesel. The opposite of love is not to hate, but indifference. Indifference creates evil. Hatred is evil itself. Indifference is what allows evil to be strong. What gives it power? I have no doubt that evil can be fought and that indifference is no option. When I went to Cambodia, in brackets Pol Pot's killing fields, journalists asked me, "What are you doing here? It's not a Jewish tragedy." I answered, "I needed more people to come. They didn't. That's why I'm here." And in the end dialogues, pages 58-59, I wrote that we'll be evaluated on various things in our detailed life review. Okay, please elaborate. So, let's go to the first bit first. Spiritual bypassing. Ignoring pain, temptations and conflict by detaching the self. A lot of people think that that we're avoiding responsibility by using this term spiritual bypassing, that we're avoiding the interaction we're supposed to have with our environment, that we are avoiding the experience we're supposed to be having, and that we are removing responsibility for what we're doing and just bumming around, basically. And the answer is, we're not. We're detaching ourselves from the human aspect of what we are whilst we're here. We're detaching ourselves from the immersion in the reality and giving ourselves time to reflect, think, behave and act in a way which is in accordance with the higher state of beingness. And that allows us to respond in a better way, more efficient way, more evolved way. And when we do that, we pass that on to others, because it's an energy exchange. And so it's not spiritual bypassing, it's actually being detached from the panic stations, the immediacy, the instant gratification of being here, and allowing ourselves to be a more complete individual and one that fully understands the environment that they're in and the interactions that they have to be within that environment and how to respond with individuals within those interactions. So it's not bypassing anything. In the end, I was getting back to this previous question, pages 58-59, I wrote that we'll be evaluated on various things in our detailed life review. And I shall elaborate on that. We are evaluated on how well we've been able to get to the centre of the maze whilst being blindfolded. How fast did we do it? How efficient did we do it? Did we learn about the maze's structure in getting to the centre? Are we able to get to the centre and back again without struggling? Can we get there straight back and straight back? How long did it take us to do that? It's all about how efficient we are in dealing with the aspects of the life plan that we wanted to experience to help us experience, learn and evolve, and therefore move on. And so it's all about, we're not chastising ourselves or judging ourselves. It's an evaluation based upon how well we've interacted with the environment, based upon how we thought we'd interact. But has that different interaction caused an increase in effectivity in terms of the interface with our environment, or has it created an inefficiency with our environment? And so it's all about learning and allowing ourselves to be put into similar situations in the next incarnation, or not as the case may be, if you've already established it. So there are several subsections to this question. Aren't we here as incarnate guides to serve others in more actionable ways than just working on ourselves, where n equals 1 is not much triangulation? And the answer is, in real terms, we can only help others once we've helped ourselves. Once we've helped ourselves and we've evolved and become enlightened beyond the point of being distracted by the incarnate condition, then we can start to help others. Then we can start to help others get to the same place that we are. So it's not about just working on ourselves. Is not being of service to others. To be of service to others, we need to work on ourselves. When I started the energy healing that was based upon the Barbara Brennan work that my energy healer gave me as a second generation student of Barbara Brennan through her, basically we all had to go through our own therapy. We couldn't just learn to do the energy healing, we had to be healed first. It was only when we were healed, i.e. we sorted out our own stuff and weren't hung up by stuff and therefore weren't dumping our own stuff on our patients, that we were allowed. And this could be demonstrated, by the way. It wasn't something where we said, "Oh, I'm cured now," and we could go straight into healing. No. We had to demonstrate it over a period of a year or so that we had actually got into the right train of thought, train of beingness, and were therefore able to work with others without passing on our own stuff. So we had to be healed and heal ourselves and help others heal us as healers before we could actually become the healer. And this is the same with helping others move up to the frequencies. We have to make sure that we're sorted first before we can sort others out. And we actually don't sort others out. We just present the key to them and give them the promise. And then they can move on in their own speed. So the next bit is, isn't action part of a role model? So by actively or passively educating or other incarnates in how to act or behave or think whilst incarnate. And so isn't this, basically whatever we're doing is part of being a role model. So the role model is allowing the illustration of allowing people to learn through others being an example. And so yes, we can, through certain actions, not deliberate actions in terms of inviting others, but deliberate visible actions in terms of how we help ourselves. We are therefore the role model for others, so that they can observe us, see how we've progressed, and want to get there themselves. And so again, it's leading by example, which is the same thing. But we can't actively lead by example. We have to become the example. That makes any sense. Okay. Next one is, isn't action part of unselfish service to others in working for the benefit of others, not just for themselves? Again, it all comes back down to this. We've got to sort ourselves out first before we can help others sort themselves out, or actually be the sorter of issues. We should be of service when we're asked to be of service, not be of service for being of service's sake. Because being of service for being of service's sake is normally rejected, and actually can get quite nasty when we try and force ourselves on others. So we have to be careful how we do this, and so we have to make sure that we are more tolerant towards individuals. We progress this, we broadcast this tolerance. We start to work for the benefit of others when we're asked to, not just for themselves, but also for us first. So we need to work on ourselves first at every time, then we can help others. But we don't actively help others, we let others ask us for help, and then we can help. So isn't taking action part of our incarnate efficiency? To accelerate evolution, to allow more people to progress faster towards more tolerance, forgiving, unity, synergy, etc. When we understand where we go, we can take action. But that action should be based upon us moving in the direction that we feel we should go into, and not actively, and by that I mean pushing people, not giving them an example to follow, but letting people follow us if they feel what we're doing is right. And so the action from this perspective is that we are allowing others to follow us because we are showing others by example what we're doing. And that's the action. We're showing by example. That, if you want to call it action, that's fine. But really it's passive, isn't it? We're showing people by example rather than teaching them how to be how we are. We're saying that this is how I'm doing it. You know, this is a model you can use. Copy it if you want to, or you can look at it and make it work for you by using bits and pieces of your own thought process. And so we can, in essence, take action by taking no action, by being passive and by being the example. Okay. I think the next part is when we start the fourth or next multiversal cycle without a physical universe or without incarnation, how does that change the structure of the multiverse? Is it just 11 full dimensions, or what happens? That's a very good question, because it's something I've not dealt with other than understanding through a series of communications through my channeling to suggest that, I think I did this about 4 years ago now, to suggest that we go through various different evolutionary cycles as a function of our source moving around through the area of experience, so to speak, that the origin reserved for our source entities to go through. And basically the source entities, through experiencing and us through experiencing the environment that we're in, actually we educate the origin by default as to what's in that environment, how it works, how it can benefit us, and how we can move forwards and experience, learn, and evolve in the most efficient way. And so, to do this, the source entities move through the area of the origin that is still unmapped, areas of polyomniscient sentient self-awareness. It moves to those areas that are mapped and are unmapped, and experiences them, and it experiences them through us. And so when our source has finished at this particular location within the origin it'll regroup, it'll bring all those aspects, those true energetic selves back into itself, recommune with those beings, remove its sentience from the body of energy that it's been using for the countless billions of millennia, relocates the sentience somewhere else in a fresh piece of energy that hasn't been experienced by it, and then creates a body of energy, creates structure. May or may not be a multiversal structure, we don't know. This is what's going to happen. It's up to our source as to what happens next. And if you read the Beyond the Source books, you realise that each of the different source entities is doing something in a different way. So from our perspective, what we're experiencing in this particular evolutionary cycle isn't particularly what we might experience in another evolutionary cycle. And it depends upon the structure within the source, which is part of the structure of the origin, that the source uses as to whether we have the lowest frequencies of the multiverse or not. What type of multiverse we have is up to the source, and whether or not there is a relationship with the very lowest frequencies within the structure of the source entity that we're aligned to, and ultimately the origin is again a function of what we experience. And so it's quite likely that we will not have a structure, a multiversal structure, or whatever the source entity tries to choose when it goes into its next phase of evolution. But I'm being told that we won't be using the lowest frequencies. And therefore, as a result of that, how do we get there? Well, basically the source, when it moves its sentience from one body of energy to another within the origin, can choose that body of energy doesn't contain the lowest frequencies associated with the origin. And so won't in not choosing the lowest frequencies associated with the origin, it doesn't choose and allow or give the opportunity for experiencing incarnate existence in any of the frequencies associated with the physical universe, of which there's 12. So there's more of this question. So I'll go over it again. When we start the fourth next multiverse cycle without a physical universe, without incarnation, how does it change the structure of the multiverse, as I just said? It's to do with, is it just, sorry, I'll finish. Is it just 11 full dimensions then, or what happens? Well, again, it can be 12. We could basically, the source could use the next level of structure and go for zones, then full dimensions, and then frequencies, but not, sorry, and then sort of subdimensions, but not bother with the frequencies. So we might not necessarily have 12 full dimensions, because there are 12 full dimensions per zone. And so it might be that we don't classify things in terms of full dimensions, we classify things in terms of zones from that point, because the zones are the next highest structure within the, not only the source, but also the origin as well. So, and that's a long way away then. Nothing that we need to worry about, whether they're incarnate or disincarnate. It's going to be a long, long time in the future. Having said that though, I am advised that we are moving through this third cycle extremely quickly. Much, much faster than we were at this stage in the first evolutionary cycle and the second evolutionary cycle. Okay, I think that's the questions. I hope I've answered them with reasonable detail. There will be a PDF provided by the wonderful lady who's doing the transcriptions for us, and provided most of the questions this time, although JM has also asked some questions, which is quite good, quite nice of him. So what we have now is the opportunity to look at the transcripts as well. So those people who aren't able to play the audios can also read the transcripts and reflect upon the transcripts as well. Right, so the last part of this particular Satsanga is the Kundalini meditation, or meditation that helps us move the Kundalini. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is like have two functions within one. Okay, you can choose whichever function you want to use to help raise your Kundalini energy. Now, Kundalini energy is basically energy that rises through the spine. It's an elevated state of awareness that comes with it, and it's very, very enlightening and very, very invigorating energy as well. And your spine is basically set alight when you do this, but it takes some time, takes dedication, takes devotion, and unless you're very, very lucky, it doesn't happen straight away. But the first one is very basic, and we use a Hindu technique of breathing and speaking in our minds with our mind's voice. Two words: Hong, as in Hong Kong, and Saw, as in sawing wood. Okay, Hong-Sau. Okay, Hong-Sau. When we breathe in, we mentally chant Hong in one go, so it's Hong. And then when we breathe out, we say Saw. And so this is all mentally spoken. We don't activate our mouth, we don't half speak it when we're mentally thinking it. So when we breathe in, we just go Hong, Hong. We breathe out, we go Saw, Saw. Now when we're breathing in and we mentally chanting Hong and Saw, when we're breathing in, we're chanting Hong, we visualize energy moving from the coccyx, that's the tailbone, the spine, up through the spine to the base of the skull, and then moving diagonally across the skull to the origin of the third eye. And when you're doing Hong-Sau, and you're visualizing this energy going from your coccyx up the spine to the base of the skull, and then diagonally across to the third eye, you'll feel the energy rising through your spine. And then to finish it, we breathe out and we say Saw while we're breathing out, and we visualize the energy going back through the third eye, down to the underneath of the skull, back down the spine, and back down to the tailbone, the coccyx. So we're breathing in, Hong. breathe out, so. This is mental chanting, not physical chanting, not spoken chanting. So as you're breathing in, you're saying Hong. As you're breathing out, you're saying So. As you're breathing in, you're visualizing the energy go from your coccyx, up your spine, to the base of the skull, across to the third eye. When you're breathing out, the energy retreats from the third eye, back to the base of the skull, down the spine, and back to the coccyx. And you continue to do that for about, well, you can do it all day, basically. If you were to do it for about 15, 20 minutes, half an hour, that's fine. Half an hour is a nice time. If you can manage it for an hour a day, it's really invigorating. It will really lift you up. Okay. So as you're breathing in, thinking and mentally stating Hong, and then visualizing energy coming up from your coccyx, up towards the third eye, and when you naturally say Saw, you're thinking Saw, or mentally stating Saw, and seeing your energy go from the third eye down towards the underneath of the skull and down the spine. And so you're breathing in and breathing out naturally. Don't force the breathing. Don't hold your breath. Just remember that you're breathing in naturally. When you breathe in naturally, you're mentally saying Hong, whilst also visualizing the energy going from your coccyx up towards your third eye by the base of the skull. And when you're breathing out, you're saying Saw, whilst also mentally visualizing the energy leaving your head and going back down the spine to the tailbone. So as you're saying these words over and over and over again, Hong, Saw, Hong, Saw, or more realistically, Hong, Saw. I mean, how it sounds up to you. I mean, you can just say Hong, Saw if you wish, but the Hong and the Saw need to last as long as the aspiration condition is working. So while you're saying Saw, it should be for the whole releasing of the air from the lungs. When you're saying, sorry, Hong, start again. When you're saying Saw, it's about releasing all the energy down and breathing out all the way down. When you're saying Hong, it's about breathing in and letting all the energy come up again. Okay. The other one is by using Kriya yoga. Again, with the Hong-Sau, by the way, you can sit kneeling, if you wish, or you can sit in a lotus type position, or you can sit in a straight back chair with your feet flat on the ground and your palms uppermost on your upper thighs, back straight, closed eyes, and closed eye vision focused on the area of the third eye. So, although this is supposed to be meditation, this is basically teaching you how to meditate using Hong-Sau and raise your Kundalini energy, and also by using the Kriya method. Now, Kriya is the same way. Now, there's no need to visualize the energy with Kriya, but I do. It helps, and it really augments the energy. So as you're breathing in, you're, again, as with the Hong-Sau technique, as you breathe in, you visualize the energy coming up from your coccyx, up your spine, across the base of the skull to the third eye. When you're breathing out, the energy is going down from the third eye, back down to the base of the skull, down the spine, back down to the coccyx. Except this time, you're just breathing. You're not thinking Hong-Sau, you're just breathing. And you're breathing by allowing the air to come through the top of the mouth. So it's okay, so it's right top of the mouth. So it's like A-W-W-W, aw, okay? When you breathe out, it's like E, lots of E, E, so E, E, E. So you're breathing out, again, to the top of the palate. So you're breathing into the top of the palate, breathing out to the top of the palate of the mouth. And again, whilst you're doing this, you think, again, you visualize the air going in and out of the lungs, and you also visualize, more importantly, the energy coming up from the coccyx, going up the spine to the skull, across to the spiritual third eye, and then coming back down again. Now, the way I do this, I don't actually incur any noise. As such, I'll breathe very slowly. So I'm breathing in, breathing in with the or through the top of the mouth, the top of the palate of the mouth. It's silent. So when you hear the recording, you'll hear nothing. But basically, I'm breathing in, using the air bypassing and going into the top of the mouth or top of the back of the throat, then back down again into the lung. At the same time, I'm visualising the energy coming from the coccyx up the spine, the underneath of the skull, over to the third eye. I'll stop and wait a moment, swallowing. And then I'll breathe out. At the top of the palate again, at the back of the throat, but slowly so that you can't hear anything. And that's one Kriya. So breathing in, swallow, or change direction then. Is one Kriya. Don't force it. If you force it, you'll start to get out of breath. So let's just have a go, shall we? For the first few, I'll go or E, yeah, or breathing in, E breathing out, and then we can just settle into the Kriya movements, visualizing the energy moving up and down our spines, and just relax and get the energy coming in. So I'll do this very quietly, but it'll be slightly audible so you get the idea. Okay. Now please note the number of seconds that you breathe in must be equal by the number of seconds you breathe out. So 7 seconds is about right. 7 seconds is optimal. Okay, so let's continue to do this. Is breathing in with the O sound and breathing out with the E sound. Okay, let's just continue. Let's just do this for 5 minutes just to get used to it. Make a little squeaky sound on the E, don't worry. Now keep doing it. Keep breathing in out, breathing in towards the top of the palate of the mouth, the back of the throat. And breathe out. You'll almost get that squeaky sound. Almost get it. So keep doing it. And again, keep remembering to visualize the energy when you breathe in, and the O sound. Okay, the energy comes up through your coccyx, up the spine towards the base of the skull, then diagonally across the spiritual or third eye. And as we breathe out with the E sound, again the E comes to the top of the throat, the top of the palate of the throat. Again we visualise the energy going from the third eye, diagonally back down towards the base of the skull, and then down the spine into the area of the coccyx. Okay, so keep practicing. Okay, one more. Okay, and so you'll find yourself the energy moving up and down your spine. You've got to keep doing it, keep practicing it, either the Hong-Sau technique or the Kriya yoga technique. Visualizing as you're breathing in and saying Hong, the Hong-Sau, energy coming up from the spine, from the coccyx, up the spine to the base of the skull, across diagonally across to the third eye. As you're saying Saw as you're breathing out, the energy going back from the third eye across to the base of the skull, down the spine to the coccyx. When you're doing Kriya, the or sound that the air comes through the mouth, at the top of the palate, towards the back of the throat. Again, you're visualizing the energy going up your spine from the coccyx, the base of the skull, and across to the diagonally across to the spiritual third eye. When you're breathing out with this E noise, where you're going, air is going out past the top of the palate and past the back of the throat, and out again. Again, the energy comes away from the third eye, goes diagonally back down towards the base of the spine, base of the skull, sorry, and then down the spine to the coccyx. Well, I hope it's something you can do. It's extremely beneficial. As I've been doing it, my eyes have been watering. And that's a sign of the start of the joy that you get through being logged into the energies associated with Kriya Yoga. And same with Hong-Sau. Now, the Hindus say that doing Hong-Sau accelerates your evolution. And they also say that Kriya also accelerates your evolution. But this Kriya Yoga accelerates your evolution significantly faster than Hong-Sau. But in my experience, both are very, very good at balancing the energies, creating calmness, and actually invigorating the body. Okay, well, that's the end of this Satsanga. for the 25th of March 2017 in conjunction with Kevin Moore and The Moore Show. Thank you again to Kevin for broadcasting this later. And thank you all for listening to this Satsanga on the 25th. Again, apologies for saying pituitary, which should have been pineal gland for the third eye. And again, just a slip of the tongue. And I will go through describing how you can open the third eye again in a different way next week. So, God's love to you all. Have a great month between now and then. Do meditate, 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 meditate. Make it as important as going to the bathroom in the morning. Okay? You know how focused we are on going to the bathroom. We'll give the same level of focus and importance to your meditation, and you'll go a long way very quickly. So, blessings to you all. God's love to you all. And Namaste.
Did you see the aliens in Crete?